It's another edition of Fixed English with Topsy. My name is Temitope Olayode. In this lesson, I will be teaching you the topic finite and non-finite verb. Are we good? Let's get started. Before we move on to the topic, let's know the outcomes of this lesson. First, you should be able to identify a finite and a non-finite verb in every expression. And secondly, to be able to apply a finite verb and a non-finite verb in every sentence or clause or expression, whatsoever the case may be. Now, when we say that a clause or a sentence has a finite verb in it, we simply mean that that expression has an active verb. What do I mean by active verb? It must relate to the subject in the sentence in relation to time, tense, number, and person. Let's look at an example. Everyone dressed gorgeously to the party. Everyone dressed gorgeously to the party. The verb in that sentence that is active is dressed. What makes it active? I can decide to change that verb, dressed, to another form, depending on the context of usage. I can decide to say, everyone will dress gorgeously to the party. At other time, I can say, everyone has dressed gorgeously to the party. Or, everyone is dressing gorgeously to the party. So you see, the verb dress can birth variety of sentences, and so it is regarded as an active verb. Such a verb can be regarded as a finite verb. Therefore, a finite verb can change its tense form in relation to the subject. On the other hand, a non-finite verb is not active because it does not relate to any subject in particular. It does not indicate any form of tense. For instance, using the same example, dressing gorgeously to the party gives everyone a sense of belonging. Dressing gorgeously to the party gives everyone a sense of belonging. Look at the way the verb dress is used in this instance. It's no longer active. It's no longer relating to any subject. Therefore, it is a non-finite verb because it lacks the ability to change its form. The finite verb in this sentence is gives, which dressing depends upon for its sustenance and meaning. Okay? Let's consider more examples of finite verb form. The children had all it would take to excel in the competition. The children had all it would take to excel in the competition. What is the finite verb in that sentence? We'll see that the finite verb in that sentence is had. Then if we go further, we still see that there is another kind of finite verb in that sentence. It would take, that is would take. So we have the children had all, then it would take. So would take can change its form as well because it relates to the subject it. Then had is also another example of a finite verb that relates to the subject, the children. Another example, are you ready to eat? Are you ready to eat? You see, the finite verb in that sentence is are. Why? It can change its form to were. Were you ready to eat? So you see, the finite verb form can change depending on the context. Another example, the patients were advised to maintain personal hygiene. The patients were advised to maintain personal hygiene. What is the finite verb in this sentence? Were advised. I can decide to change the context of usage by saying the patients are advised. Now another example. The customers waited for so long before the storekeeper attended to them. The customers waited for so long before the storekeeper attended to them. What are the finite verbs in this sentence? We'll see that we have two finite verbs in this sentence. The first one is waited and the second one is attended. Why? Because they both have subjects relating to them. We have that in the form of a complex sentence. There is a main clause and there is a subordinate clause. So the first clause contains the first finite verb, waited, relating to the customers, while the second one, attended, relates to the storekeeper. So each time you have a verb that relates to its subject conveniently, then it is a finite verb. Note, auxiliary verbs can serve as finite verbs when they stand alone or when they help the main verb to form its tense, as in the examples we earlier mentioned. Now let's look at more examples of non-finite verb forms. Non-finite verbs have three forms and they are mostly used with the finite verbs in sentences. Non-finite verbs cannot stand on their own except they are used together with the finite verbs. We'll see the way it goes. Let's see the first form. A, the to infinitive form. Examples: to eat, to play, to dance, to jump, and so on. She eavesdropped on their discussion, not to call for any suspicion. She eavesdropped on their discussion, not to call for any suspicion. Which one do you think is the finite verb in that sentence? Of course, eavesdropped. Why? Eavesdropped relates to the subject, she. It can change its form if you like. However, look at the other form of verb, not to call for any suspicion. To call there is a to infinitive form of the verb, and so that is an example of a non-finite verb. It is an example of a non-finite verb that should not be found in a clause standing on its own, except with the assistance of the verb, which is the main one, the main verb, eavesdropped, in this example that we just considered. Let's consider another example. The host wanted to announce the winner before everyone's departure. The host wanted to announce the winner before everyone's departure. What is the active verb in this sentence? Wanted. And tell me the non-finite verb? Of course, to announce, a to infinitive verb. So we have many examples of a to infinitive verb in sentences. They cannot stand on their own except with the presence of a finite verb, which is the active verb in the sentence. Now let's consider the next form of the non-finite verb, the ing or gerund form. Example: waiting, dancing, eating, playing, and so on. Most children love swimming. Most children love swimming. So swimming in this context has been used as a gerund, which is the non-finite verb in that sentence, while love is actually the finite verb in that sentence. Love is the main verb which swimming depends upon. Another example is this: on hearing the news, I became flabbergasted. On hearing the news, I became flabbergasted. Now, this is the ing form of the verb, hearing, which cannot stand on its own except for the became. I became flabbergasted. Became is the finite verb here, which helps the hearing to be meaningful or to sustain itself. Another example here: reading novels is one of my hobbies. Reading novels is one of my hobbies. Reading has been used as a non-finite verb, which is the gerund, while is the finite verb, which can change its tense form. Of course, reading novels becomes the subject of that sentence, while is the finite verb. Now let's look at the last form of the non-finite verb, the ed or en participle. The ed or en participle. For example, broken bottles should be cleared with immediate effect. Broken bottles should be cleared with immediate effect. We see the way broken is used here. It's used as a non-finite form of verb. It should have acted as a verb, but not in this context. It is doing the work of an adjective, of a participle. And so we say, what type of bottles? Broken bottles. And so it becomes the subject of the sentence. So the finite verb here is should be, which broken relies upon. Should be can change its form if we like. So should be cleared with immediate effect. The last example to be given here is the whole study among the students wasn't a wasted effort. The whole study among the students wasn't a wasted effort. What is the finite verb here? Wasn't. While the non-finite verb here is wasted. Of course, it is no longer acting as a verb because it is doing the work of an adjective. What type of effort? Wasted effort. So when a verb acts in another form or as another part of speech, we say it is a non-finite verb because it is no longer active. It is no longer regarded as an active verb in that context. Note that the non-finite verb forms no longer perform the function of verbs, but nouns, adjectives, or adverbs in sentences. Today's lesson. If you have any question, please drop it in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more videos. See you in my next video.